Dumelang, hello, and welcome to the Domestic Workers Chronicles, where we talk everything about auntie. My name is Lindiwe, the maid of all maids, the domestic of all domestic, the madam of all madams. Those who know me call me Kalashnikova, Mafavuka. Welcome to today's episode. If it's your first time, please like and subscribe so that you get notifications to our next episodes. Today we're talking legal things. See, I'm going to make it so simple, guys. HR and compliance within the domestic workers sector. Most of us, when we hire domestic workers, we think it's so informal. There is no regulation, there is no anything. Until the day we go to CCMA. And when you get to CCMA, hey guys, now I was part of the CCMA task team, and we used to study we did a case study on the cases that would get study domestic work, because I mean we had huge influxes before COVID, study domestic worker, and when you look at those issues, study domestic workers taking their employers to CCMA, it's simple issues that someone can literally come in, arbitrate or mitigate and have a conversation, and the issue can be sorted out. But let me scare you here. So we once did a case, and I was given an opportunity to sit in that case as part of the CCMA task team in relation to the domestic workers sector. And the domestic worker stole. The domestic worker actually was stealing smaller little things. Like I said in one of the episodes, you get someone, box, and the box says domestic worker need a job. You go hire the person, you don't know them, you haven't vetted them, you haven't done a proper background check on them. And that was that type of domestic worker. Lababona musba umukrile ko bossman, bossman, what is this thing in Pretoria? Bossman taxi rank or go MTN Noord. Akir uthomola pelo, shame, pity, guilt, and I'm also desperate. Let me just hire. Madam, guys, we need to be sensitive, you know. We need to be sensitive as to who we are bringing into our household. And this comes from the child of the spirit. Please be sensitive as to who you're bringing. The least you can do is make sure you run thorough background check on that person. Appoint will made for you, or somebody who does background checks and vets applicants or employees to assist you. Let's be sensitive. We had a case, actually I was interviewed on a case by, was it SAFM or 702, I don't remember. It was years back. And it was a very sensitive case of where a domestic worker literally murdered her employer. If you can Google that, I think it's on News 24, where this woman was left there as a corpse with her infant child and a 3-year-old, and they were found by a gardener or something like that, right? So sometimes when we hire home employees, we are so oblivious and so light and so nice about it, and you don't understand that that is something that is more sensitive than hiring a PA. Let me be honest with you. That is so sensitive than hiring a PA or an office worker, because this person is coming into your space to look after your child, right? So today we're talking HR and compliance, and we're going to talk about the importance of HR and compliance. But like I'm mentioning, the biggest thing is to make sure that you know who is in your house. Know who is in your house. Guys, the biggest sector in South Africa that is having the biggest profits and everything is banks, is the financial sector. But the financial sector, as much as they're having these billions and they're making billions on a daily basis, the biggest thing they have and what they're big on is KYC, FICA, know your client. Banks don't compromise. Listen, if you don't have that municipal account or something to verify that, listen, I've been banking with this bank for 10 years. They say, listen, we're freezing your account. We want that KYC. So treat your household as sensitive and as important as the bank treats their money. So know who is in your house. So, I think you can get where I'm going with this, to say when you hire somebody, the first thing is to know who they are. Make sure you have their profile, their IDs, their next of kins, their passports, their asylums. And you need to get the ones that are quite new. Don't be looking at things that are 6 months old, right? I can tell you horror stories, and I'll tell you in other episodes, as to people coming with fake IDs, fake asylums, fake passports, expired passports, and what they end up doing in households of employers, right? And on other episodes, I have a comment from one of my viewers who said, Lindy, where you come across as though you are protecting employers more than employees. And I can assure you, dear viewer, I protect employers as much as I protect employees, right? It's just that in this instant and in these past episodes, I wanted to focus and just really, really look into employers and potential employers, the do's and the don'ts, and what they can do to mitigate this kind of risk. Know who's in your house. That is very important. So HR and compliance starts there. So you need to know who is in your house to an extent that you keep a file on them. So you make sure you have a file either on cloud or printed or whatever of their documents. Everything that you have on them, their next of kin, their children, their benefits, in case they have a pension fund or funeral cover, you need to make sure you have those things. You have their CVs, and feel free to call the references on the CVs, although some of them might be their pastor or their friend. Just get an agency like Made For You and say, please, I need an employment character check on this person, and we are able to do that through our systems. So it starts there. When we talk about HR and compliance, the biggest thing and the first point of departure is making sure you know who is in your house, right? Secondly, I need to make you conscious. I need to conscientize you as a potential employer or as an employer who already has a domestic worker, that the domestic worker sector is regulated, and there are regulations around this sector. The Labor Relations Act protects domestic workers. The Basic Condition of Employment Act protects domestic workers. Within that particular act, there is something we call the Sectorial Determination 7, which clearly stipulates the do's and the don'ts within this sector. So you don't want to waste your time and be studying these things. You just want to come to us and make sure everything is done. So HR and compliance includes your knowing who is in your house rule, the KYC kind of, at the bank they call it KYC. And secondly, making sure that whoever works for you has a formal employment contract, right? So let me go back to CCMA, guys. Joe, I'm losing track of what I was saying. So CCMA, I go to this case. In this case, the domestic worker has lodged a case against the employer for something else. And, for non-payment, yes, for non-payment. This unfair dismissal, non-payment, these nice legal words. And of course, the employer comes there and we are sitting in that hearing, and the domestic worker states her case that she dismissed me, she didn't give me notice, I don't know why I was dismissed. And the employer comes with footage and say, here's the footage, she stole the suit and continuously she was stealing the cheese and the sugar and the milk and whatnot. So I'm dismissing her on the grounds of theft and dishonesty and whatever nice things they want to say in legal terms. And the commissioner's first question was, this is going to shock you, this is going to knock you out of your world. This is the first thing that the commissioner said and asked the employees that, is your domestic worker registered for UIF, Unemployment Insurance Fund, number one? Does she have a formal contract? Does she have a work schedule? Does he have a disciplinary code? And the employer's answer was, you said it, no. Now, how we looked at that is that, okay, how much, and the next question is, how much are you paying her? I'm paying her 2,000 what? Oh, first of all, this person is not registered. They don't have a formal contract. They don't have a work schedule. They don't know what is expected of them. And you are paying them below the set minimum wage. So basically, you're exploiting this domestic worker. Okay, thank you, ma'am, for answering your questions. Let's go to domestic worker. Domestic worker, what is your problem? Oh, this one was underpaying me. I've got 7 kids. I take care of my mother-in-law and my father-in-law, my 7 children, my 6 kids and my 6 cows and whatnot. So when I met him, you are exploiting this one. She's not registered. She's not registered for anything. She has no payslip, no contract, no disciplinary code, nothing. You are paying her below the minimum wage. So you are perpetuating the behavior of stealing and criminal acts. Because for this woman to survive, she cannot survive on 2,000. She needs 4,000. So for her to augment her salary, she needed to steal the cheese and the what and the what. And for her to make sure her kids can have food every day, she needed to take your cheese and what and what. So I'm just saying, worst case scenario, guys, you're going to go there and lose a case on a small little thing. So HR and compliance becomes important for you to protect yourself and protect your domestic worker. If there is a formal contract in place that states the job spec, the work schedule, the salary, and make sure the salary is within, of course, the set minimum wage. And besides the set minimum wage, it needs to match the workload and the hours of work, right? So most employers lose CCMA cases, labor court cases, simply because of small little things that they ignore, right? And remember, when you are at CCMA, you can sit there for the whole day and you have taken 2 days. They can postpone the case and then charge you and then ask you to pay 6 months salary, because first of all, you were underpaying her. Secondly, you didn't pay her UIF and her COIDA. Remember, now the new law says domestic workers are covered by the Compensation and Injury Fund Act. So therefore, they also need to be, if they get injured at work, right? There is medical aids that are available, but they need to be accounted for within the COIDA Act. They need to be registered. So when you neglect these things and auntie is there and auntie feels like, I want to take you to the cleaners, she will definitely do that. She'll get the 6 months salary. She'll get the UIF claim. She'll get all these things simply because you neglected the small thing. So what I'm saying is that it becomes important that at inception, after, we spoke about the job spec. After you did the job spec, you've appointed somebody, you make sure that there is a basic condition of employment act that is compiled for them. If you don't have the time, please assign the agency who made for you and others to make sure they do that for you, the work schedule and the disciplinary guides. And then you make sure that they themselves, the domestic, have a UIF reference number. Should you want to go over and above that, make sure UIF and COIDA are compulsory. So if you want to go over and above the UIF and COIDA, I encourage you that after 6 years to a year of employing somebody, please get them a pension fund. Guys, it's as little as 100 Rand. The funeral cover is 50 Rand. The medical aid is as little as 350. So that can be activated and that can be reflected on their pay slips. So you don't have issues and so forth and so on. So most employers would ask me, but Lindy, if this one leaves and then I get another one, I had 20 in 2 years alone. We have to start from the root. We have to start with the foundation to say, is your job spec matching what you're getting? And are you transparent and honest and explicit about your job spec and your expectation, so the auntie doesn't come into a surprise? So the next question that I get, that I will address hopefully in the next episode or one of the episodes, is that why do domestic workers just leave? Yo, South Africa, the domestic worker di atsamaya asa ulaela. Wa itse atsamaya a utlohele. Apake diaparo a re no ke December ke ya hae a ska bua. So we're going to address that. I dealt with so many employers and employees, and I have insight because I speak to domestic workers and they tell me why they leave. And the reason I'm going to tell you, you're not going to believe why they leave. Why they leave. So we're going to talk about that in the next episode. But today I just wanted us to really, really zoom into HR and compliance, the importance of a formal contract, work schedule, disciplinary guideline, monthly pay slip, UIF and COIDA registration, and other benefits like medical aid and pension fund. I thank you for joining us today. Like and subscribe.